Have you got a minute to hear about a definition for dyslexia? Even though there are lots of definitions for dyslexia, there's not one absolute definition. Google defines dyslexia as a general term for disorders that involve difficulty in learning to read or interpret words, letters and other symbols, but that do not affect general intelligence. Dictionary.com defines dyslexia as any various reading disorders associated with impairment of the ability to interpret spatial relationships or to integrate auditory and visual information. The Oxford English Dictionary defines dyslexia as a learning disorder marked by impairment of the ability to recognise and comprehend written words, whereas the Australian Oxford Dictionary defines dyslexia as abnormal difficulty in reading and spelling caused by a condition of the brain. The Wikipedia page states that sources like the US National Institute of Health define it specifically as a learning disorder. Other sources define it simply as inability to read in the context of normal intelligence and distinguish between developmental dyslexia, which is a learning disorder, and acquired dyslexia, which is the loss of the ability to read caused by brain damage. The Manual of Medical Diagnosis used around the world by doctors to diagnose medical conditions is the ICD-10, and it describes dyslexia as a learning disorder characterised by an impairment in processing written words marked by impairment of the ability to recognise and comprehend written words. This means that the medical profession doesn't regard dyslexia as a medical condition, they consider it a learning condition. If you've taken your child to the GP, they've probably referred you to a paediatrician or psychologist. In May 2013, the American Psychiatric Association released the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-5. The manual is a tool used by clinical psychologists to recognise and diagnose mental health disorders, including learning disorders. One of the controversial changes is that dyslexia has been removed as a type of learning disorder. Here's what the DSM-5 calls a specific learning disorder: a neurodevelopmental disorder of biological origin, manifested in learning difficulties and problems in acquiring academic skills markedly below age level and manifested in the early school years lasting for at least 6 months, not attributed to intellectual disabilities, developmental disorders or neurological or motor conditions. The psychologist then has to specify if the learning difficulty is in reading, such as word accuracy, fluency and comprehension, in written expression or in mathematics, and the current severity, which is mild, moderate or severe. In Australia, there's a federal education department as well as an education department in each state. The Australian Federal Department of Education, Employment and Workplace Relations report on the review of disability standards for education in 2005 stated that the definition of disability includes physical, intellectual, psychiatric, sensory, neurological and learning disabilities, as well as physical disfigurements and the presence of disease-causing organisms in the body. In 2015, the Australian Government will be reviewing the disability standards for education in 2005, formerly under the Disability Discrimination Act 1992. The standards are designed to make sure students with a learning disability or learning difficulty can access education on the same basis as other students. Across Australia, there are different approaches to definitions, including legal definitions of dyslexia. New South Wales is the only state in which education legislation includes children with a significant learning difficulty, such as dyslexia, as a category of children who may require additional support. All these inconsistent definitions of dyslexia across Australia and the world make the occurrence of dyslexia hard to determine. So while there's no one agreed definition of dyslexia, and there isn't likely to be for a long time, if you have a child struggling to read, you can do something to help them now. If you have a child who's struggling with reading, my online course provides self-regulation strategies and reading techniques that will turn the negative experiences around so your child can stay positive and focused. Go to my How We Help page, and with your love, support and encouragement, together we can get your struggling reader on the road to success. If you like that video, what are they going to do? Press like down there? Hi, it's Marianne from dyslexia.com.au, and if you like that video, press like down below, and you can also subscribe to my channel so that you get notified when there's a new video for you to watch.